Yeah, I wonder if you can just tease out your thinking about the parallels between wokeness and faith.
First of all, when you have a faith, by definition, not every aspect of it can be proven. So there are aspects of woke culture that are being really supported in society. I look at every study I can find, and I turn immediately to the methodology page. And I am amazed, but no longer surprised, that if I had presented methodology that shoddy, I would never have graduated. So you have the jargon, even you were describing that young woman who was, really castigating a police officer and using all of the ideology, all the ideological terms, all the jargon with regard to why he could be a racist as a Black man when she's never walked a mile in his shoes at all. When you have that, you have the jargon, you have the absolute beliefs, you have the trained thinking where you look away from anything in your own tribe, in your own belief set that's incongruent. You don't focus on it. You get really angry at anyone else who questions any aspect of what you believe. You don't look at the real flow-on effect of your beliefs. The people who are at the top of your religion are allowed to behave in a way that is morally in conflict with what you claim to believe. If you're one of the top people, you can literally do anything and get away with it. Now, how does that not echo what we've seen in very powerful religions, and everyone who wants to get the approval of that group has to kiss the ring, and they have to, whether they really believe in it or not, they have to make a promise to not say anything that goes against any of the accepted narrative. It's like if you look at Joe Biden's history of what he believes and who he is as a person, what he's supporting and what he signed into law with those, those, what do they call them? Executive orders. First day in office, he signed a bunch of executive orders and one point said, I don't even know what I'm signing. Said, keep signing it. He doesn't believe a lot of what he's supporting right now, but that's the deal you have to make with this group. Because if they get angry, then they burn down your cities.
And of course, punishing dissenters is part of any good religion or any faith, calling out blasphemers, essentially. And we see this, of course, in social justice movements. But what's been striking recently is that people who ought to be in a position of authority to be able to stamp out that kind of misbehavior just aren't. And I'm just talking about people in companies who might be the head of a company, people even in academic institutions and universities will feel too cowed to be able to stand up to the students who have a certain ideology and who are calling out blasphemers for not being part of their clique. Are institutions to blame then?
I see what we have is we have a culture we've gone too long without training our people in what it takes to have personal courage. We've tried so hard to be accommodating to everyone that we are not clear of what our own values are and are not willing to defend them. When we see things that are so in conflict with each other, one of the things that I thought was really astounding about the woke is that so many of their beliefs are in complete conflict with each other, but nobody that's part of their group is allowed to comment on that.
Like what, Dina?
Like being supposedly pro-women and supposedly pro-gay rights and also pro-Islam. And I'm looking at this and going, one of these things is not like the other. So I'm looking at this and saying, does anybody else notice that this doesn't make sense?
Right. Saudi Arabia and Islam and ISIS are well known for their feminism and gay rights.
And having people that are leading the Women's March in the United States who want to institute Sharia law in the United States, but now they want to come down on Texas for changing their abortion laws. And by the way, the states have rights with regard to abortion laws, and those abortion law changes started happening under Obama. So we cannot hold any president, even Biden, we cannot hold any president to blame for that. That's not how it works. But their values just don't mesh together. And no one that's part of that religion is allowed to really comment on it. Or else you're vilified. You could even be thrown out of the group.
The end game seems to now be something that's called equity. The end game in the era of Martin Luther King Jr. was equality, was judge people on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. That has now changed to a conception of justice that is much more proactive and much more about ensuring that the outcomes for everybody by group are the same. I think this is probably a good place to end it, so take it wherever you will, but where do you see that going?
Well, that kind of a thinking is completely contradictory to Western society. It is a socialist ideology that even in the socialist countries has never been borne out by how they live their lives. Those who are at the top of the hierarchy live completely differently. There's no equity. They live in gated communities. They have multiple homes and access to things. And we're seeing that also. While they're talking about equity, all of the people at the top of the Black Lives Matter organization are buying multi-million-dollar homes in all white neighborhoods. So the issue about equity never works because all it does is hold back people who could bring a lot of value to their own lives and to the lives of everyone else. So I just hope, I want to see courage. Courage speaks to courage. I'm going to be brave enough. I want to tell you, you'd be stunned how much money I've lost in contracts because I won't be quiet and just be a good Black girl that just echoes, the woke thought. If I were woke, I'd make so much more money right now. But we need courage. We need people to stop and say, this is not going to take our society anywhere we want to go. We don't want equity. We want equality. We want better opportunity. But we're not going to hold other people back because this person doesn't want to work hard or succeed.